discussions of the board and the college are an important function of the Board of Trustees. Question number 2, this question deals with the college and the community, including the district's relations with the adult education program. Understandably, Santa Barbara City College has to respond to both the community needs as well as state priorities. And as a trustee, how would you balance the needs of Santa Barbara City College's adult education and its college credit program? How would you balance the needs of the adult education and the college credit program? And I would ask you to please be specific. This time we will begin with the trustees from area number 3, with Marcia going around and ending with trustees from area 1.
I don't see the credit program and the adult ed program as in competition, which seems to be implied in the question. I see them as part of one college working together to solve problems, and that's the way I would approach the issue. The college did experience a reduction in its apportionment, its money from the state in 2009-10, and it was a reduction in the cap that the state would pay of $2.6 million. This should have been a matter for much discussion among all parties concerned, all the faculty, the students, and the community, as to how the collective wisdom would recommend that we deal with this. We should try to solve it together, adult ed and credit together. Instead, it was a unilateral decision by the administration to cut classes. That was not the only choice. You could have addressed that $2.6 million reduction in revenue many different ways. I think that's the most important decision that the college has faced in the last 2 years, and yet it did not go through community discussion and stakeholder discussion, and I think that's a critical issue for the future. We need to talk about that issue.
There isn't any competition between the credit and the continuing education divisions. As a result of budget cuts from Sacramento, we have had to make cuts in in sections. But we have maintained, as well as we can, programs in both. We are mandated by the state, incidentally, to make our priority the credit side. So we have gone to considerable lengths to make sure that the continuing education class offerings don't get cut disproportionately. What we have done is try to make economies, but keep the full schedule of classes going. And as far as cutting classes, I have here a continuing education schedule. All the classes are in there this fall, and enrollments, contrary to some of the language that's been splashed around about dropping enrollments, our enrollments in continuing education are actually somewhat above last year's. So continuing education is fine, healthy, doing well. We're proud of being able to maintain it. We're also proud of being able to maintain the campus here, the credit section of the college. Thank you.
Well, I believe continuing education is very important to this community. The people that go to continuing education are people from all walks of life, people who some of them are on Social Security, some on very limited budgets, some have a lot of money, and yet they all meet together in one classroom. It's really absolutely wonderful. The credit side also is very important to this community. It's important that the kids can get their education and they get a good start in life, and that they find something they're turned on about. So I don't see them in competition with each other either. I do want to point out, though, that in continuing education, I think there's an opportunity for fundraising that we're kind of turning our back on right now, and it's too bad, because I think there are enough people who take continuing education classes who would like to give to the college and are really not being encouraged, and that's too bad. You used to be able to if you paid $30 for a class, throw in another 20 if you had some extra money, and then that money would go to the foundation. And right now, there's $927 million in $1,000, 927. It'd be great if it was a million, but $927,000. And the plan is to just spend that instead of trying to get some more money, and that the community would be glad to give to continuing education.
I agree with Mr. O'Neill. There is no competition. Both are important. When Prop V went out, the respondents said that 90% of them were interested in credit. I'm not saying anything about the non-credit program, except I think the responsibility is for the credit program primarily. We're committed to provide our community with the finest education programs. We've developed policies that align with the college mission, and we respond to the community that way. During this current financial crisis, we've made hard decisions about classes that had to be cut. Marcia didn't say anything about summer classes being cut. She served on that committee, so she agreed that the summer classes some of them should be cut. Not all of them are cut. We had a summer session, but we had a larger fall term. That was the choice. The educators that were there, the people that were part of that committee, including Mrs. Coninger, said, no, we'd rather have a longer fall session. So again, there's no competition. We're doing the best for both the credit and the non-credit. We think we're doing a good job. We know we're doing a good job. We're not thinking. We know we're doing a job. And we think that our policies that we've developed are going to make the college stronger and stronger.
You know, I was pretty late getting involved in all of this, July, early August, when I first started learning what was going on here and why people wanted me to run, and this idea of shared governance keeps surfacing. Mm-hmm. And I don't think we'd be where we are today with 4 candidates challenging the incumbents if shared governance was a policy and a practice of the current Board of Trustees. I can give you a little anecdote. At our last forum a week or so ago, just preceding that was the Board of Trustees meeting, and one of the faculty members, it's recorded and it's on the website, gave an impassioned plea for her particular class, saying that she wanted to let more students in, and there had been caps imposed. Mm-hmm. So, and then later that night, I heard one of the trustees members, Des O'Neill, say, no students that need classes for transfer, they're all getting those classes. Well, apparently they aren't, because the faculty member had just told them an hour and a half before in an impassioned way that's on the tape that they're not. So where I'm going with this is, I don't believe there's a competition between credit and non-credit. I think what this Board of Trustees has failed to do is listen to the community, and the community involves faculty and students and the greater community, and make decisions that aren't going to backfire, make studied decisions, take the time to hear from the public. Thank you.
I think our support of the credit program and the non-credit program should be equal. And I think that we have to ask ourselves if it has been equal. You have to realize we're under 2 difficulties. One is the basic support that the state is sending to the college is shrinking. We're also having, our cap has been, we are capped, but we have students that when they don't get the class they want, they switch to another class. So you could say that the way to solve this problem is to eliminate those students, or you could say the way to solve this problem is to find seats for those students, and in a way we've been doing both those things. But I think you can't say the academic program of the college the first year that we were under these budget restraints was cut 1.4%. This is in the minutes. The academic program of the continuing ed was cut, I'm going to say 13%, but I'm going to wait, I'm going to say you'd want to check those numbers yourself. Because the continuing ed is taught mainly by adjuncts, and we made the cuts in adjunct faculty rather than in permanent faculty. I think part of the answer is that we have to realize that taking these issues through the College Planning Council is not sufficient. It has to go through the trustees as well.
The primary mission of a community college is defined by Ed Code. We are to offer vocational and academic instruction for both younger and older adults, students. 90% of the college is supported by the credit side. The credit side establishes a lot of the other programs, or helps pay for a lot of the other programs. So continuing education is important to this community, and we do listen, and there are ways that we hear what is going on. Not all community colleges have continuing education. Most don't. Santa Barbara City College is actually the 7th largest community adult education program in the state. There's lots of programs, and as a result, the college offers both very strong credit and non-credit programs that represent the college and its mission. We are obligated to listen to the state and follow the directives of the state when it comes to how we regulate those classes. We've responded to those classes and the people in this community. This board, the incumbent board, has helped build continuing education, and I don't think any of us would want to tear it down.
There seems to be an amazing amount of agreement on the part of both challengers and trustees about there being no real competition between the two. There may be competition, but it's very clear that 90% of the budget is allocated toward the credit side, and that's mandated by the state and is as it ought to be. But both are important, and I think that's the case that is being made here. Both are very important. They're important to our social structure, that we have both of these vibrant programs. I think that the problem I'm having is that there seemed not to be any creativity about how to make sure that we fund programs that are being cut. I mean, to simply stop at the water's edge and not try to raise funds, I think is silly. So I think one of the things we have to bear in mind is that shared governance involves everybody, involves listening to everybody. And when I served as president of the Academic Senate, I made sure that shared governance was not only something that I understood, but something I supported.
Okay, well, thank you. The first question dealt with adequate levels of reserves, and the second question dealt with balance between the credit and non-credit program, as much as it did, I might add, as competition. The third question deals with the Board of Trustees' role and its decision-making style. There have been reports in the local press that the current board has moved away from a more transparent, a more collegial, a more participatory style of government, and more toward a less inclusive, less open pattern. The question is this a fair assessment? Is that a fair assessment? And please justify your viewpoint. What do you see as the proper role of the trustee? And for question 3, we begin by asking those from trustee area 4 to go first, followed by 1 and 3. So that would mean, yes, with Lisa first and then around.
So I heard 2 parts to that question.
Correct.
One was the proper role for a trustee, and second, whether the...
Is it a fair assessment? The first one, is it a fair assessment what the press has, or the community, which we've heard from the community, or reports in the local press, is it a fair assessment that the college has moved away from a more collegial to a more less open pattern?
Well, let me tell you what my idea of would be for me as a board member. I would be active and energetic. One of the things that really drew me into this race was just doing my own investigation on the website. And I have to tell you, I was appalled to find out that the Educational Policies Committee had not met since March or April of '09. This is the committee where the leadership for the curriculum development, thinking about things for the future, would get funneled as far as I'm concerned. Why this committee didn't meet for 14 to 15 months, I don't understand.